So what really happens to our awareness when we die? For like centuries, this was a question you'd ask a philosopher, not a scientist. But that's changing. Science is now finding clues in the most unlikely place imaginable, the exact moment of clinical death. Okay, let's get into this, because what researchers are finding, well, it challenges basically everything we thought we knew about the brain and consciousness.
It all kind of starts with a message, a really strange, really specific, and what seems like a totally impossible message. I want you to remember these words because, believe it or not, they're the key to unlocking a massive scientific mystery. All right, so our first piece of the puzzle here isn't from some high-tech lab. It's from a hospital room. And it's a story that is so bizarre, so hard to explain, that it's actually become a cornerstone case for consciousness research. So picture this. There's a patient, he's critically ill, and he slips into unconsciousness. His heart actually stops. Medically speaking, he is down. He is gone. But inside his mind, something absolutely extraordinary is happening. He has this experience of leaving his body, and in this other state, he sees his favorite nurse, a woman named Anita. You can imagine, in a moment of total crisis, seeing a friendly face like that would be incredibly comforting.
But here's the thing. She doesn't just say hello. She gives him a job to do, a very, very specific message he needs to deliver. It's about her parents, how much she loves them, and an apology for wrecking a red MGB.
And here is the twist. This is what takes it from just a story to a real scientific puzzle. When the patient finally recovered, he tried to pass the message on, right? Only to find out the shocking truth. Nurse Anita had died hours before his own near-death experience in a car crash. The car? It was her brand new red MGB.
So you see the problem here, right? There was absolutely no way for this guy to have known any of this. It wasn't on the news yet. Nobody in the hospital even knew the details of her accident. So how could a man who is clinically unconscious get verifiable factual information about something that just happened completely outside the hospital?
This is exactly where science has to step in. See, an experience like this isn't just a cool story. It's a specific kind of data, and it has a name that helps researchers categorize it and, actually study it. It's called a veridical near-death experience. Now, veridical is just a fancy way of saying it can be proven to be true. This isn't about feelings or seeing a tunnel of light. This is about getting cold, hard facts. Facts that a person with no brain activity and their eyes shut should have absolutely no access to. Now look, if the MGB story was the only one, you might just write it off as some freak coincidence. But it's not. Let's look at another case. This one comes from a formal study by a researcher named Pim van Loom. Okay, so another patient goes into cardiac arrest, and in that chaotic moment of trying to save his life, a nurse takes out his dentures to clear his airway. She puts him somewhere safe, out of sight. The patient, of course, is totally unconscious the whole time. After they bring him back, he says something that just floors the medical staff. He tells them he knows what happened to his missing dentures, even though he was clinically down when they disappeared. And get this, it wasn't some vague feeling. He correctly identified the specific nurse who took them out, and then he pointed to the exact drawer in the crash cart where she had put them. I mean, the nurse was just stunned. There's no normal way he could have seen any of that. It's another perfect example of this veridical data. Okay, so we have these really powerful stories, right? But science needs more than just stories. It needs systematic, repeatable study, and that is exactly what the AWARE, which stands for Aware During Resuscitation, studies decided to do. These studies aren't just looking back at old cases. No, they are prospective. That means they set up the experiment in hospitals ahead of time, ready to capture data from cardiac arrests as they happen. It's this incredibly ambitious plan to study this stuff in real time. And the most recent one, AWARE 2, which was just published in 2023, delivered some of the most jaw-dropping results anyone has ever seen. It really was a huge milestone for this whole field. So what did they find? Well, out of the 28 cardiac arrest survivors they could interview, an incredible 11 of them, that's 39%, reported having memories and experiences from the time they were clinically unconscious. And what's so wild about this is that we're not talking about some rare, one-in-a-million thing. We're talking about almost 2 out of every 5 survivors in the study remembering something. That makes this a significant, measurable phenomenon. But the AWARE 2 study went even deeper. It managed to capture something researchers had only dreamed about before, actual physical data from the brain during one of these events. So first, they confirmed what all the stories were suggesting. People were having real, structured experiences, some of them veridical, while their heart was stopped and doctors were literally performing CPR on them. And then, the bombshell. In a few of these patients, they captured EEG signals, actual brain waves, long after the heart had stopped beating. And these weren't just random flickers of a dying brain. No, they were organized bursts of high-level activity, including gamma waves, which are the same kind of brain waves linked to consciousness and memory when we're awake. This was the very first physical signature that could be linked to these near-death experiences.
So let's just trace the evidence real quick. We started with that impossible bit of information about the red MGB. Then, we added the verifiable details about the dentures, and we ended with the AWARE studies, which gave us not just large-scale reports, but objective brain activity. And this all brings us to the big, profound question that this research really forces us to confront. If all our current models of the brain say it should be silent, but the data, both from people's stories and the electrical readings, says it isn't, well, we have to rethink some pretty basic stuff. What even is consciousness? And is it truly stuck inside a fully working brain? Science doesn't have the final answer yet, but for the very first time, it's got the data to really start asking the question.